Better strap in tight, old chums. Alfred is going to give you a bumpy ride.
Brought to you by
the Patreon supporters of Crowdfunding Hell. Click on the link below in the description for this video and become a patron of Crowdfunding Hell. Say hello to Alfred, the world's first personal AI assistant, except for all the others that you can find in crowdfunding with just a cursory look. This is going to be what I call a roller bot. It is designed like a big set of cans on the side that rolls around on the floor, and it just barely made its goal at $60,694. I tend to wonder whether or not that's significant. You can wonder about it too. It comes from One Technologies Global Incorporated out of Newark in the United States. Or does it? I suspect it came out of China, actually, simply because they obviously don't care about copyright violations and are using both the characters that you see right here in this illustration to try and promote it. They're also not aware of the backstory of the primary character because he'd be carrying it in his utility belt instead of having that idiot butler carrying it around by hand. Of course, having everyone in their team that you see here being of Asian extraction, well, maybe that's a clue, maybe it's not. But at least they have their items sitting there in the middle of that table where we can all look at it and wonder. After all, just look at it sitting here in various colors and wonder why in the world you need this thing, but really we'll get into that in just a moment. Now that sentence up there says it's the ultimate artificial intelligence robot with built-in projector, scanner, and 4K camera. And here we're seeing an example of that projector in action, supposedly. But here's the problem. Wouldn't it be simpler and easier and probably give you better imaging if that thing that says Netflix actually was a flat screen television that size? And in fact, aren't there flat screen televisions that size already available? Which would mean that I don't need it in this particular device, that I would have to lift up by hand to the top of that table to get that image. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet, right? Of course, if it is going to be used as a projector, you're going to run into the problems that you see right here in their own image when you have an uneven surface that you're projecting on. Now, this does not bode well that it breaks up sentences like global financial, I guess that's Centrex index, and so forth. And if you're looking at graphs and charts and so forth, wouldn't you be better off just looking at that on a regular computer monitor somewhere, or even just a flat printout on a piece of paper so that there's no distortions like you see here? But again, I'm just some guy on the internet, right? What the heck do I know? And here, once again, we see it on a tabletop or a coffee table, or actually a coffee table on top of a book, right? Now you have to ask yourself one very important question at this point. How the heck did Alfred get up there? As far as I can see, there's no way for it to do the equivalent of climbing a stair or jumping to a tabletop, or even if it was already on the tabletop, how did it climb up that book? It's not something that they're going to show you, is it? Maybe it didn't. Maybe you had to carry it there. How convenient is this thing again? Now here's an interesting thing to note, because it's going to probably come up later. They are only in the prototype stage. They are not supposedly in production and they're supposedly not shipping. More on that later on. Now it says right here that Alfred is the world's first, once again, it's the first, unless of course you count all the others that come up through crowdfunding, the world's first artificial intelligence assistant with smart and autonomous behavior. Alfred is a robot that follows you wherever you go with the power to photograph, record, project, scan, listen, play, teach, and much more. It's kind of like having an Alexa that's going to follow around and, well, spy on you everywhere, I guess. There's only one problem. It's probably the way it's made, the way it acts, the way it's supposed to be doing all these things. And let's face it, let's look at that price. $499, down from $950. First of all, how do they know it's supposed to be $950? How are they able to produce it and make a profit at $499? And since I'm recording this in March of 2020, they're already not going to make their estimated shipping date, are they? After all, they're only in prototype, not production. Well, let's move on. And here you see all the things that are supposedly built into that little bitty tin can that'll be rolling sideways on your floor. Scanner, projector, smart behavior AI is built in, photographer, video recorder, app controlled, wireless charging. It's powered by Android. It's Alexa compatible. The latest buzzword in crowdfunding, voice, face, and gesture recognition, universal connectivity like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and universal compatibility. The iOS, macOS, Android, Windows. I'm surprised you can't just mentally command it to do things and it's going to work just like it does in science fiction films, right? And here we're going to see one of the more accurate things. It brings the imaginary future closer. In my opinion, the accent should be on that one word, imaginary. This thing, again, in my opinion, there's just no way in hell. But let's keep looking and see. Maybe I can be proven wrong. Well, let's see. Hitting very hard on that magic buzzwords, AI powered. It's right there, number one. It has not just one, but three wide-angle 12-megapixel cameras with a 10 times digital zoom. It's got a 1080p projector. It works as a scanner up to A3 size. Powered by Android, and of course they once again talk about universal conductivity. You're going to find this more and more in crowdfunding. They're not just going to tell you once, but several times the same things because they want to make sure that it's lodged in the front part of your brain and you can't get it out with a crowbar. And here, of course, they tell you with a beautiful set of diagrams where some of these things are. Now remember, they did say that they had 3 cameras. Well, I count a back camera and I count a front camera, but I don't count a third. So are they fibbing to us? Is there something we don't know about? Who knows? And there's the speakers and the scanner is right there. So there's some sort of little flap that has to open up in order for that scanner to be used. And of course, there's the projector. All in one device. Let's hope that none of those things breaks down individually, because then that particular function is no longer available to us. It's the problem you run into with a lot of devices that are multifunction. You've got to hope that one of those functions, or even two, doesn't just suddenly go south on you. But I digress. Here we go. Video recorder and video calls. First time they said that. Let's see. It's a pet sitter. You can teach and play with built-in interactive and educational games. Always want to make sure the kids are taken care of, or maybe your simple-minded spouse. It has smart features. It's Alexa compatible. Joy of joys. It has smart behavior. And your controls are done by voice, gesture, and apps. I tend to wonder about that voice and gesture. I possibly could see an app, hands-free notifications for reminders, weather forecasts, and alerts. Thank God we have Alfred. It isn't as if we couldn't get that done through our smartphones, right? Now, once again, we have the usual set of suspects. Things that say it's a beautiful innovation. It'll change your work routine. It's an invention worth investing. But has anybody seen or used an actual working prototype and can show us how well it works? I don't think so. And here, where they talk about their ultimate AI assistant, I come up with my usual question. If they already have this kind of sophisticated software, isn't it easier for them to make tons and tons and reams and boxes and barrels of money simply by licensing that AI software? Why do they need you to crowdfund this at all? They could retire to an island in the Caribbean that they own forever simply by licensing this software. So it tends to make me a little skeptical. One of the more interesting things it claims to do is be a scanner, eliminating the need for the large stationary scanners to easily scan any documents, books, articles, notes, or even your drawing. Think about that for a minute. You're going to have a scanner built into this thing that rolls along sideways like a tin can on the floor, specifically to be able to scan the documents, which I'm assuming would be on the floor, right? After all, you want them on a plane that you can scan. Somehow this doesn't make any sense to me. And here we go, the projector. Well, unless you're carrying that thing and can lift it from the floor to the top of, say, a coffee table, a regular table, a card table, somehow raising where it's sitting from, that projector really is going to be kind of useless, huh? But what the heck do I know, right? You know, this thing is starting to sound really familiar to me. I wonder what it is. It'll come to me. Oh yeah, and by the way, let's make sure that that projector is absolutely perpendicular to the surface that you're projecting on. Otherwise, you're going to have some serious distortion of the images that you're looking at. But then again, you probably knew that. That's because as a Crowdfunding Hell subscriber, you are above the learning curve to get this product. The Crowdfunding Hell Prison Workshop. You too can own something that has been fashioned lovingly by the gnarled hands of our inmates. Ooh, look, you can video call your friends and family and use Alfred to do it. It isn't as if, things like smartphones and cams on computers and laptops and so forth don't already exist and allow you to be able to do video calling and probably do it without tying up Alfred, because you were using Alfred to scan a document or, I don't know, project something onto your wall. And please remember that you now have the ultimate home cinema. Never mind the fact that you have a perfectly good, expensive computer or television set sitting there in front of that family. You've got an Alfred, which means that you're tying up the Alfred and not using the expensive other devices already in your home. And if that wasn't enough, Alfred acts as a personal cameraman. With those 3, count them 3, though I couldn't find 3, high-resolution cameras to take stunning photos, group shots, and panoramic photos wherever you are. No longer have to ask strangers to take full-fledged photos for memory or leave a friend behind the camera. However, they fail to mention that selfie sticks are a thing. No matter how many places don't want you using them, how many places have you gone to that selfie sticks come out of the woodwork and at the worst possible time? It's great to notice that if you want to take selfies, you can do it easily with Alfred, obviously from the floor, and if you manage to lift it up to, say, a coffee tabletop, perhaps even from that coffee table, both with and without color correction, it seems. It's great that they also use it as a dash cam because being not tied to the car in any manner, shape, or form, when you're recording that automobile accident of yours, it's going to go levitating all through the interior of that car. You might get the accident, but they'll also be able to show just how badly you're injured, or maybe not. Who knows? Loose objects flying around in a car make the great cameras, don't they? Alfred watches my child as he slowly but surely manages to give himself a broken arm because he's in a crib that was recalled, but I was too busy to be bothered by that. Alfred keeps an eye on my pet, using various seek and destroy programs apparently to be able to find the pet even when it doesn't want to be found. We think it's a game. They think it's life and death. Note the terrified look on that cat's face as Alfred finds it and corners it. What's going to happen next? Wait and see. And then one that's always good in crowdfunding, the security camera aspect that something like this has. Notice how useful it is in identifying the suspect masked with a hoodie, wearing nondescript clothing. Yes, we can see the value right away in having Alfred as a security camera. A security camera easily picked up and put in your pocket, just as if you were going to do it. If you are one of the many internet and crowd-funded backers that are out there that really do not know when you're supposed to be drinking something, well, supposedly this device, this Alfred, this paragon and an unparalleled example of electronics will make sure that you know it's time to drink some water. Well, if this chart is any indication, unless you're keeping this thing on standby, it doesn't have a long battery life, does it? Not for the purposes that we've been talking about so far. Thank goodness that equipped with intelligent technology, Alfred knows when the battery is running low and automatically moves toward the charging station and docks itself. That's pretty good. And of course, when you're in the middle of something, to have it suddenly go straight off and find that charging station is not going to create a problem in my workflow or my day at all, is it? I would now ask you to take very good control of yourself. And remember that Alfred can be controlled from your smartphone. Oh, God, it's such a usual crowdfunding piece of fluff. Remember that Alfred is not only an assistant, but a loyal friend. Well, as much as a bunch of electronic parts can be, that always come to the rescue when not having to run off to get recharged, I suppose. You should also be aware that the core technology for Alfred has been under development for over 2 years and has gone through a long creative process. Now, how long the creative process was to create this long wall of text we've been going through, I have no idea. But I have a hunch that much more development and creativity was put into the wall of text. Something that disturbs me here, as entrepreneurs, engineers, and this is important, not long ago, students ourselves, not long ago, students ourselves. So this was developed by people that have pretty much recently come out of college, and now they're claiming the future has already come. Heck, I didn't even know the future was breathing hard. And now the formal thing, risks and challenges. In any hardware project, the manufacturing process could be very challenging, as well as the development of software. Till this day, OutTeam, it says it right there, OutTeam has run Alfred through different tests and has developed a prototype. As the shipping begins, the source code will be released to the public for further adaptation and improvements. Look around. See if you can find that source code anywhere. It is, after all, the month that they're supposed to begin shipping, this being March of 2020. Or does it? They seem to be a little confused about it themselves, because in the FAQ, the frequently asked questions, the first question, when will we start shipping? And it says there unequivocally April 2020. And if you look to the right, if you've given them money, and this is what you would base your purchase off of it, or your investment, or whatever you want to call it, it says unequivocally estimated shipping March of 2020. How much you want to bet it's going to change again, not too far from now? Can Alfred follow you if you go downstairs or upstairs? Currently not. Now that really does sound familiar. I got to think about this. Maybe it'll come to me. Is it waterproof? Nope, it's not, which is kind of dumb and really scary, because for most of its life, it's going to be rolling along on the floor, right? And what's on the floor? Well, water spills. And of course, they claim that your privacy is protected. How? Who knows? But it's protected, and you can trust them. After all, they're crowdfunders. So in looking over the comments, the 21 comments on this item, the first one is, hello, I am asking for a refund. They ask another obvious question. Same person, is there any video of product prototype? Anything except promo videos. Number 3, as long as I know coronavirus is not attacking computers so they can do updates or at least some response, and company is in the United States. Well, is it? We really don't know, because in crowdfunding, they can claim to be anywhere. Is the project dead? Any updates after a month? Any news related to product? And apparently there isn't any, and we haven't seen an update since. This should probably have given them pause. But then, wait a minute. I remember now. I know why this sounds so familiar. Isn't a lot of this the same stuff that was claimed for Ido? Is this just Ido 2.0? Maybe. But I do know this. It's now in crowdfunding hell.
Brought to you by
YouTube, which reminds you to subscribe and hit that bell to be notified of any new videos that come out on Crowdfunding Hell.